Most people think about fiber in the context of digestion. It keeps things moving, it helps with bloating, it is what you need more of when things slow down. All of that is true. But fiber is also one of the most consistently studied and most robustly supported dietary factors for cardiovascular health. And the research on how it protects the heart is specific enough that it changes how you should think about what you eat in the morning. Breakfast is the most reliable opportunity most people have to build a serious fiber foundation for the day. If you miss it in the morning, the rest of the day rarely makes up for it. Today, we are covering why fiber matters for your heart specifically, how much you need, which breakfast ingredients deliver the most of it, and what the ideal high-fiber, heart-healthy breakfast actually looks like in practice. Start with the mechanism. How does fiber protect the heart? There are several pathways, but the most well-established involves LDL cholesterol. Soluble fiber, which dissolves in water and forms a gel-like substance in the digestive tract, physically binds to cholesterol and bile acids in the gut and prevents their reabsorption into the bloodstream. The liver responds by pulling LDL cholesterol out of circulation to synthesize more bile acids, which reduces the amount of LDL in the blood. High LDL is one of the primary drivers of atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in artery walls that leads to heart attacks and strokes. Consistently eating soluble fiber is one of the most directly demonstrated dietary interventions for lowering LDL. The second pathway is blood sugar regulation. Fiber slows the digestion and absorption of carbohydrates, which flattens the blood glucose curve after eating. Repeated blood sugar spikes drive insulin resistance over time, and insulin resistance is a major independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. By dampening those spikes consistently across years of eating, high fiber intake reduces the metabolic load that the cardiovascular system has to manage. The third pathway is inflammation. High fiber diets are associated with lower levels of systemic inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein. Chronic low-grade inflammation is a well-documented driver of cardiovascular disease progression. Part of the anti-inflammatory effect of fiber comes through the gut microbiome. Fiber feeds beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, compounds that have documented anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body and particularly in the gut lining. The daily fiber target for adults is 25 to 38 grams, depending on sex and age. Most people in the United States consume around 15 grams per day, which is well below the minimum. Getting a high-fiber breakfast in the range of 8 to 12 grams puts you in a meaningfully better position to hit the daily target without heroic effort at other meals. So what are the best breakfast ingredients for fiber, and what does a complete high-fiber breakfast look like? Oats are the single most well-studied breakfast food for heart health. They are rich in a specific type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan, which has decades of research behind it for LDL reduction. The FDA recognized this evidence strongly enough to allow a health claim on oat products specifically linking beta-glucan to reduced risk of heart disease. A serving of rolled oats delivers around 4 grams of fiber, a substantial portion of which is the soluble type that directly targets cholesterol. Overnight oats are particularly convenient because they require no morning prep and can be built with additional fiber-boosting ingredients like chia seeds, berries, and nut butters the night before. Chia seeds are worth calling out as a standalone ingredient. 2 tablespoons of chia seeds contain approximately 10 grams of fiber, along with omega-3 fatty acids that provide additional cardiovascular protection through anti-inflammatory activity. They also absorb liquid and expand, which contributes to satiety and slows gastric emptying, extending the blood sugar stabilizing effect. Chia pudding, made by soaking chia seeds in milk overnight, is one of the highest fiber breakfasts available with minimal effort. Berries are another high-value addition to any morning meal. Raspberries stand out as particularly fiber-dense, with around 8 grams of fiber per cup. Blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries are also strong contributors. Beyond fiber, berries are rich in anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for their deep colors, which have been independently studied for their effects on blood pressure, LDL oxidation, and endothelial function. The combination of fiber and anthocyanins makes berries one of the most effective cardiovascular protective foods you can add to breakfast. Avocado on whole grain toast has become a cultural fixture, and the nutritional case for it is legitimate. A medium avocado provides around 10 grams of fiber alongside monounsaturated fats that support HDL cholesterol, the protective form of cholesterol, while reducing LDL. Whole grain bread adds additional soluble and insoluble fiber. Together they form a breakfast that covers multiple cardiovascular pathways simultaneously. Nuts and nut butters deserve mention as well. Peanut butter and almond butter, used in overnight oats or on whole grain toast, add fiber, protein, and heart-healthy unsaturated fats. The protein-fiber combination is particularly valuable at breakfast because it extends satiety and helps prevent the mid-morning blood sugar drop that drives poor snacking choices later in the day. A practically useful framework for building a high-fiber, heart-healthy breakfast is to combine at least two of these elements: a whole grain base such as oats or whole grain bread, a fruit or berry addition, and either seeds or nuts. That combination reliably delivers 8 or more grams of fiber while keeping saturated fat low and sodium minimal, which are the two other dietary parameters most directly linked to cardiovascular risk. One note on what to avoid. Many breakfast foods marketed as healthy are low in fiber despite appearances. Granola bars, flavored yogurts, fruit juices, and most cold cereals deliver minimal fiber relative to their calorie count and often carry significant added sugar. Checking the fiber content on the nutrition label is a more reliable guide than the front of the package. A genuinely high-fiber breakfast item should have at least 4 to 5 grams of fiber per serving as a baseline. The evidence linking dietary fiber to cardiovascular outcomes is not weak or preliminary. It is among the most consistent and long-standing findings in nutrition science. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death globally. Fiber intake in most populations sits well below recommended levels. Those two facts together make increasing morning fiber one of the most accessible and evidence-backed cardiovascular interventions available, requiring no prescription, no significant expense, and no dramatic lifestyle overhaul. Just a different approach to what goes in the bowl before the day starts. The timing of fiber intake during the day also matters more than most people realize. Eating fiber at breakfast has a documented second meal effect, meaning that the fiber consumed in the morning continues to moderate blood sugar responses at lunch and even dinner. This happens because the fermentation of soluble fiber in the gut produces short-chain fatty acids that slow gastric emptying throughout the day, not just in the hour after breakfast. A high-fiber morning meal is therefore not just protecting you during breakfast, it is improving your metabolic response to food for the rest of the day. This extended effect helps explain why people who consistently eat high-fiber breakfasts tend to have better overall glycemic control and lower cardiovascular risk markers than those who consume the same total daily fiber but distributed differently. Getting fiber in early compounds its benefit throughout the day in ways that front-loading other nutrients simply do not replicate. The practical conclusion is simple. Make breakfast the most fiber-dense meal of your day. Use oats, chia seeds, berries, whole grain bread, avocado, nuts, or any combination that works for your palate and routine. Aim for at least 8 grams of fiber before you leave the house in the morning. Do that consistently, and you are not just eating well for breakfast. You are actively working on one of the most modifiable risk factors for the leading cause of death in the developed world. If you want more content like this delivered to you every day, subscribe. We cover the research and explain what it actually means for your health.